They've done a great job of rigging this. They've done a great job of rigging this league. The league, they're not even being subtle. They're not even being subtle. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing.
We now have evidence that the Indiana Fever's matchup with the defending champion New York Liberty had everything you could possibly want, even if it wasn't yet the season's first matchup between the Fever and the world. High stakes for star power, it should have been a huge victory for the WNBA, but since it's the WNBA, there had to be controversy, and the referees once again caused it. For many, the sold-out Indy crowd and the intensity of a playoff game felt like a championship preview as two of the league's most exciting teams faced off in front of a national audience.
Can't believe what I'm about to say. The Indiana Fever, with the strongest, loudest, most intimidating home court advantage in all the WNBA, just got robbed at home. I saw it with my own two eyes live on CBS.
Similar to the previous season, supporters were left scratching their heads or cursing at their screens over missed calls, dubious infractions, and instances that gave the winning team the advantage. Fans and pundits quickly took to social media to voice their indignation, but
I will just say the lopsided officiating was absolutely insane.
And the controversy isn't just about a few missed calls, though. Let's be clear, those were brutal. And we'll get into them in just a second. The real issue is that this is part of a much bigger pattern, a pattern that started last year, got worse in the preseason, and now is reaching a boiling point just a few games into the regular season. And if you think I'm exaggerating, just wait until you hear some of the stats about how lopsided the officiating has been against the Fever this season. It's not just one or two games, it's every game, and the numbers are downright embarrassing for the league. It's gotten so bad that even the Fever have had enough. Head coach Stephanie White didn't hold back after the Liberty game. It wasn't vague, it wasn't diplomatic, it was a straight-up warning shot. And even Caitlin Clark, who usually keeps it cool, threw in a little dig of her own. Let's get into exactly what happened, but first, like this video if you think the refs are unfair to the Fever. Comment if you disagree. And don't forget to subscribe.
Another year and another case of WNBA referees dropping the ball, not making the right calls when it comes to Caitlin Clark.
Fans, experts, and even players are furious about what we're going to witness. And it's not someone. It began early and frequently, and there were times last season when Caitlin Clark appeared visibly shaken. It's a pattern, a long, frustrating, borderline dangerous pattern that dates back to the WNBA season, when it was clear that she would be treated differently from the first time she set foot on a court. The physicality increased, players were taking extra liberties, and the referees swallowed their whistles.
Even in the playoffs last year, do we not remember when Caitlin Clark is shooting a layup and she's in the air and Marina Mabrey commits a block, a hit on the arm, a blocking foul, like a whatever hit on the arm foul, everything. She just comes late and is like, Caitlin's not getting a layup. Jumps sideways into her, takes her arms out, knocks Caitlin on the ground, and then stops because she knows she's fouled, and the referees are like, play on.
Then, of course, there was the Kennedy Carter incident where Caitlin Clark was blindsided off the ball in what was obviously a frustration foul. What did the referees do? They called it a common foul rather than a flagrant, which was the last straw for many fans. If that wasn't going to be changed in real time, what would? The worst part is that the non-calls didn't end there. They followed Caitlin all the way into the playoffs.
It is kind of interesting that Caitlin Clark hasn't been to the free throw line at all.
The players are always going to play Caitlin hard because she's Caitlin Clark, the best player on the court most nights, and there's no problem with hard fouls or letting the game flow. The issue is that the consistency hasn't been there. The Fever seemed to always get the short end of the stick, and things didn't get any better during the preseason. There are really too many examples to even show in one video, and you could make an entire documentary out of the missed calls alone. In the first few games alone, there was a clear pattern. Clark drives, makes contact, gets hacked, and nothing whistles stay in the pockets. Eventually, the frustration boiled over, as you could see in her body language, and felt it when she picked up a tech just for pointing out the foul. The reason Caitlin Clark wasn't receiving any free throws was not because she wasn't getting fouled, but rather because the referees were completely ignoring it.
I mean, they have 9 baskets, and I have them unofficially with 7 right-handed layups. Clark found a hole in the defense. Now Caitlin's going to wait for Aaliyah Boston here.
Goes over the top, Boston, the catch fading away, goes off the glass.
The imbalance persisted in the 3 regular season games before the game against the Liberty. Stephanie White will show you the numbers in a minute, and they're astounding. We're talking about a clear-cut difference, but some people dismissed it, claiming that it was just early season play and that things would settle down and the officiating would become more reliable. Well, the Fever's big game against the Liberty, the reigning champions, was the ideal test, and before we get into the controversy, let's be clear, this was an amazing game full of drama. The crowd was boisterous, the energy was playoff level, and both teams gave it their best.
This is the best passing connection I can remember since John Stockton was feeding Karl Malone back in the Utah days.
Lexi Hall was a spark plug who made huge plays all over the court, and Aaliyah Boston showed everyone why she was selected first overall in 2023. As you could see, Caitlin and Aaliyah had a strong bond. They were reading each other during plays, communicating, and posing serious challenges for New York's defense.
No pass shot possessions for New York. Clark, step back 3. Oh, she hit it and draws the foul. Out defending. Clark trying to create some airspace. Long 3 at the horn. Oh!
And even though Caitlin's performance wasn't as outstanding as she usually is, she still had moments that made you realize who she is. She made incredible passes, hit hard shots, and had a few sequences that made the building scream. And even on a bad night, she managed to leave her mark on the game. That's what makes stars stand out from superstars. Although it wasn't her biggest line, there were still a lot of highlights in the performance.
The worst rugby games I've seen.
The referees for again, what, the second game in a row, I guess? Definitely for the second game of the season, the referees swallowed their freaking whistles.
There was entertainment value. This is the kind of marquee matchup the WNBA dreams of. 2 evenly matched teams playing at playoff-level intensity, a boisterous crowd in Indy, and all the makings of a great game. Stars shining, drama building, and a close score throughout. However, when the final whistle blew, none of that made the headlines, and the only thing people could talk about were the referees.
Liberty were at the line 32 times to the Fever's 15, and it was just so obvious. Now, I get calling fouls, I get not calling fouls, but in this instance, there were similar fouls that were not getting called on the New York Liberty that were going towards the Fever. If you're gonna call every ticky-tacky foul, okay, call it, but call it for both teams now.
The disparity in foul calls was evident as the Liberty were getting 32 attempts at the free throw line while the Fever only had 15, more than twice as many in a close game like this. The difference isn't just obvious, it's decisive. It wasn't just the number of fouls either. Caitlin and her teammates were getting body checks without a whistle, and the Liberty were receiving touch fouls. It felt like 2 different sets of rules were in effect.
Just kept shoving Caitlin. They're like, well, they can't just keep calling fouls. I'm like, they're literally just running around hacking her. The referees have made it like a point that this is how you beat the Fever. You hack them. You don't even, it's not being physical, you just hack them. Because the referees are going to allow them to be hacked. Late in the game with the Fever, hack them. Not being physical, hack them. Don't go for the ball, hack them.
However, then there is this Caitlin Clark, who was hacked during the preseason and throughout the previous season, and the referees simply ignored it with no calls and no protection. Eventually, it seems like they are purposefully telling the rest of the league that it is open season and that Caitlin Clark needs to be protected.
Play! Oh my god, this is rigged! This is rigged! She got yanked! Foul on her hip! That's a hack! That's a hack! That's a hack! Oh my god, they hacked the one upon her and they hacked Caitlin Clark! They are both hacks! They are both hacks! They hacked Fever twice, and then there was a phantom foul called on Sabrina Ionescu.
However, if the refereeing wasn't already harsh overall, the game's closing seconds completely sealed the draw, putting the Fever in a prime position to steal a victory against the defending champions before the referees took control.
Clark dumps it off. Bonner blocked at the top.
Here, and Caitlin.
Dana Bonner drove to the basket and was pounded first, with the game tied, and the Fever tried to take the lead.
The worst one. There's one foul. There's two fouls. Then she holds her, watch this, with her shoulder and on her arm when she follows through and then fouls her for the fourth time on her arm.
Significant bodily touch, everything you would think would cause a whistle to blow, yet nothing did. And then the phantom foul Lexi Hall gave Sabrina Ionescu a classic defense. He didn't make contact, but 2 free throws were given nevertheless. It was the ultimate stomach blow, but the referees weren't finished. And then came the worst of all, the last possession. Caitlin Clark was fouled many times during a final attempt to tie or win the game, and the referees swallowed the whistle. Her face was instantly filled with rage, arms out, screaming in shock, and the most outrageous aspect was that the referees refused to even look her in the eye.
The Fever have a chance to win the game, to go up 2, they jump through her back. Caitlin Clark shooting a shot, and Natasha Howard does the dumbest thing she can possibly do by fouling Caitlin Clark on a 3-point shot, and you ignored it.
There are multiple fouls on the play, multiple fouls. She hacks her across the wrist as she's reaching to try to slap the ball away, and it was just an arm hack, just a hack. And then as Caitlin tries to go up into, she's going left, but she's trying to go up into her shooting motion, there's body foul, and then there's an arm foul.
And WNBA commentators were completely shocked by what they had just witnessed.
WNBA referees are getting destroyed. And I mean, they are getting crushed online. Honestly, they're getting crushed during every single game. I've seen a lot of people come out and say, the WNBA referees, is this what it's about? Because they're the worst referees in the history of any referees.
The inconsistency in the game showed that the anti-Caitlin and anti-Fever bias is still present, as fans pointed out that Clark was being mauled on drives without whistles while her opponents were receiving gift-wrapped free throws for making eye contact. And it wasn't just analysts who lost it on the referees on social media.
And have a discrepancy minus 31 when it comes to free throws. That doesn't seem right.
The problem is that it's not just an isolated incident. Rather, it's a pattern, a trend, a reality supported by statistics, and it's gotten so bad that even head coach Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark are beginning to speak out. Those clips will be released soon, but first, let's discuss what fans are actually saying about the free throw disparity.
Games for Stephanie White to say, you know what? I've had absolute enough. Game 1, okay. Game 2, okay. Game 3, all right. But today was the last straw.
Shout out to Stephanie White. The Fever coach stood up for her team. She demanded respect, and she blasted the refs.
That's correct. The Fever are down 31 in free throw opportunities this season, which is a startling disparity in a league where games are frequently decided by a few possessions. Being on the losing end of a 30-plus free throw swing isn't just a warning sign. It's a 5-alarm fire. Sure, most players and coaches try to remain neutral and chalk it up to a single aspect of the game, but when you add up this kind of imbalance with all the missed calls, non-whistles, and game-changing moments that consistently go against them, something had to be said, and Stephanie White made it clear that she had had enough.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways.
Stephanie White didn't hold back at her post-game news conference. She called out the referees for the blatant disrespect that has been growing over the season.
White has lost her mind over it, and I don't blame her. I mean, at least she's standing up for the team, making it a public issue. So now the WNBA is at least on notice that everybody knows it now, that this team is not getting any calls.
Coaches don't want to do this. Nobody like calling out the referees. But when it becomes this obvious, you have no option but to speak out and inform the league that this type of behavior isn't just being observed. It won't be accepted.